Hi, my name is Terry Green Clark. Welcome to Demystifying College Admissions video series, Part 2, the Common Application. The vast majority of students applying to college will use a form called the Common App. The Common App has been around since the 1970s. The Common App is used by close to 700 colleges across the country. It's one standard application for the majority of these colleges. Students create an account to initiate the application process. They then choose which colleges they will apply to. They submit it electronically, and then they monitor their own applications for each university. The Common App itself is updated yearly and is often available by August 1st. So what is included in the Common App? There are 10 components of the Common App. The first component of the Common Application is the student profile. This section of the Common App is really looking for basic information on the student gender, citizenship, and ethnicity. The second component of the Common App is the family education and history. So realistically, something you can have a conversation over dinner. They're looking for parents' occupation, job title, ethnicity, education. In addition to that, they're looking for any siblings, their ages, and their current education. And for the students in particular, they're looking for their grade point average in their course selections. The next section that they will be looking for is standardized testing. Standardized testing includes the ACTs or the SATs. Since this is a complex and high priority subject, I will talk about that in more detail in a few minutes. The next section that they're looking for are considered the activities. This is basically a student's resume of their activities in high school. It includes sports, art, clubs, community service, work, employment, and any community service that they did. The next section that is included in the Common App is the essay and writing supplement. This is the one section of the Common Application where the students have a choice. They can choose from 4 or 5 different prompts and write an essay totaling a maximum of 650 words. This one essay will be sent to all colleges that the student applies to. This is the one place that the student has the choice to show something about themselves that they cannot find anywhere else in the application. It is really considered a high priority section of the application. The next section of the application includes recommendations. These are recommendations that come from teachers, preferably teachers that your students have had junior or senior year. They are submitted independently by the teacher electronically to the colleges. Transcripts. Transcripts come from the guidance department, which will cover your students' grades from freshman year through senior year in high school. University writing supplements. The university writing supplements vary by each college. These supplements are in addition to the essay that I spoke about earlier. Oftentimes colleges prompt students to answer questions such as, why did you choose University XYZ, or what can you contribute to University XYZ? Every college is different, and students need to check in individually at colleges to find out what the writing supplements include. The next section is art supplements. Art supplements are now available to be transferred to universities via electronically. There is an independent organization called slideshow.com that is connected to the Common App that students can submit portfolios, recordings, and videos. It is the student's job to make sure that those art supplements do reach the universities. It is their responsibility to make sure that that does happen. The next section that we will talk about is sports supplements. Sports supplements now really don't exist that much because of club sports, because of platforms that are available for athletes, and college coaches are really in touch more with high school coaches and involved in these platforms and camps across the country. So that does not exist for the Common App, and it's much less of an issue than it may have been in the past. The final piece of the common application is an interview. Not all schools require it, but some schools do. They're usually conducted by a person from the admissions department, a student, or an alumni. My recommendation to you before you go to visit a college, especially if it's out of state, to see if they offer interviews and if those interviews are a priority. If they are, book an appointment and have your student interview with the university, because if you do choose, or your student does choose to go back and make that school a priority, it may be difficult to get back for that interview at another date and time. So let's take a closer look at standardized testing. The SATs versus the ACTs. The SATs historically evaluated a student's verbal and quantitative reasoning. The ACTs had been known to evaluate a student's high school curriculum. The ACTs and the SATs have been considered equal from the college application process. The ACTs actually surpassed the number of SAT tests taken approximately 3 years ago. The ACTs are also accepted by all four-year institutions. So what had happened was the SATs were recently redesigned in March of 2016 as a result of the fact that more students were taking the SATs. If the goal of the redesigned SATs was to make it more user-friendly for the students and reflect more of their ability to be successful in college. So let's take a look at the differences between the SATs and the ACTs. If you look at the differences across the board, the timing is approximately equal. In terms of the essay, the SAT, it's considered optional, where the ACT, it's included. The timing of the math is not dramatic, and the reading and language is different. The one fact that is different between the SATs and the ACTs is that there is a science component to the ACTs. Scoring on the SATs is evaluated on a scale from 200 to 800. The essay is evaluated independently with a score of a 2 through an 8. The ACTs give you a score from 1 to 36 for each section of the application, and then they give you a composite score, which is an average of all of those scores put together. As we continue our conversation about standardized testing, you should be aware that there are some universities out there that are considered test optional. And what that means is they do not require the SATs or the ACTs to be included in their application. For a list of these schools, you can go to www.fairtest.org. It should be noted that there are a lot of high-level schools in there that do say that they are test optional, but they also say that submitting your SATs or ACT scores, if they are good, won't hurt your application. So it would be best to advise your teens to talk to their guidance department about submitting their SAT scores or their ACT scores. SAT subject tests. SAT subject tests are in addition to the standard ACT or the SAT. SAT subject tests are required by some universities as part of the application process. The student gets to choose between 20 different subjects. These tests are an hour long. They are scored on a 200 to 800 scale basis like the regular SATs. And it's often considered an opportunity for a student to show their proficiency at a certain subject matter. Again, they are required by certain schools, so your students should always check with their guidance department. Advanced placement tests. Advanced placement tests are offered to students who are taking advanced placement classes in high school. There are over 37 advanced placement tests offered. They are offered once a year during May, and students across the country take them all on the same day. The interesting thing about advanced placements tests is they're not a required piece of an application, but if a student scores on a 4 or a 5 out of a 5 on these tests, they can often opt out of entry-level college courses when they go off to the university. So it's important to have for the future in terms of where they're going to be placed in different classes when they get to college. One final note to consider when the students are taking their standardized tests is timing, planning, prepping, accommodations, and anxiety. The key factor I will discuss here is the timing. If your student has a sport or a club or a play that takes up a lot of their time, you should consider the fact that they are very busy at that time and will not have the time to prep for an SAT or an ACT test. So considering that in your planning process of the timing to do the SATs or the ACTs is important in this whole process. So let's move on now to submitting the application. The Common Application is submitted electronically. The timing of submitting the Common Application I often call alphabet soup because of the abbreviations associated with that. There are 3 different times that a student can submit their application. The first one is called early decision. Early decision is a binding agreement. A student may only apply to one school early decision. They typically apply by November 15th, and they will hear a decision from the university by December 15th. The second option is called early action. Students can apply to multiple schools under the early action submissions. It is a non-binding agreement, which means they are not committed to go to that school if they get accepted. They apply by November 15th and they hear a decision by December 15th, but they actually do not have to commit to that school until May 1st. Regular decision is the final option, which is often applications are due by January 1st. Their decisions are out by April 1st. And they need to commit and send a deposit by May 1st. These are the 3 main priorities or options that schools have, but every school has a variation on each of these options. So I highly suggest that all students interested in specific schools check with the university to make sure that these options are followed as I identified them there. There are always variations across the board. So students need to know what those variations are and ensure that their applications are submitted in a timely fashion. So let's move on to receiving notification and committing to a college. The vast majority of colleges notify students of their application status electronically via email. Students will hear whether or not they are admitted, deferred, denied, or waitlisted. Admitted means that those students will be accepted to the university for the fall semester of that year. Deferred is an option that typically only is found in ED, early decision, and EA, early action application. What that means is that the student has not been accepted in the first round of the applications, but their application will go into the regular decision pool for review. They will be notified of their status when the regular decision responses are sent out. The next option that students hear is that they've been denied. This response is found in early decision, early action, and regular decision applications. Students will not be accepted to the university for that fall semester. They cannot apply again for that same year, and that the students are able to apply for admissions the following year. Waitlisted is typically found in regular decision applications. What that means is that the student has actually met the academic criteria of the university, but they may not have had enough space for all the students that they wanted to take. They are offering the students the opportunity to be included in the student pool if they have openings that come up. Students must respond to the university to confirm that they have a continued interest in pursuing that university, and they will find out, typically notified by the end of May. All of these notifications are received and commitments will be made no later than May 1st. A final note on the college application process includes a word of caution about social media. Can social media have an implication on the college application process? Yes. There are so many forms of social media out there, including Instagram, Twitter, Vine, Snapchat, and Facebook. Let's face it, all of our teens are going to be far more advanced in social media than we ever will be. What they often don't understand is when they post something, it's really there for the world to see. So my cautionary tale is to make sure that your teens understand that if the world can see it, so can admissions departments. So a good rule of thumb that I like to tell my own children as well as other people is to have your teens only post pictures and stories that they would want their parents and their grandparents to see. That concludes part 2, the Common Application. I hope you've enjoyed this. Look for part 3, financial aid, and part 4, college athletics to follow. Thank you for your time.